Hi everyone, today we're going to have a little look at a simple video on changing gear. Not how to, but how to improve the speed and the coordination of your gear changes. Okay, the first thing that we're going to talk about is our feet position. Our feet need to be nice and relaxed. They need to be in a position so we're not stretching for the pedals, but also it's really important to have your toes on the pedals and you're not using your whole leg to go from one to the other pedal. Make sure your right foot especially is pivotable between both pedals so your heel can be on the floor, and when it is on that position you can change gear well. The clutch is obviously important to use also, so make certain when you use the clutch that, again, I've got a footrest to the left hand side of my clutch pedal, but it can be pivotable from one to the other. So toes on the pedals, and make sure your feet are nice and relaxed. The next thing I'd like to go on to talk about is setting up the steer. Your steering wheel obviously needs to be still because your hands are going to need to move to change gear, and people often go wrong if they change gear mid-steering. I'm just going to try and show you as we do this sharp turn that even on a sharp corner like this, you probably wouldn't normally be going to do a gear change on such a sharp corner, but what I'm going to try and do is show you as I do move away that if your steering is set, you can still get the gears on the corner, but it's important to do once the steering's set and your steering's finished. If you're moving your hands or steering and gearing, as driving instructors often call it, things are going to go wrong. So I think there's a time for us to go. My steering's set perfectly, so I can change gear on the corner. I had to be really slow with my feet in that scenario, however, it was still possible. So would I change gear now as I'm approaching the corner? No. I could have got it on the corner, but the next gear change I've done, I'm just going to actually wait for the four-wheel drive, and then I'm going to change gear. So the steering has to be set for you then to be able to move your hands. Another little point of note, what I just said about the four-wheel drive. Don't change gear when you're heading into a problem. I wouldn't be changing up to fourth gear now if this crossing was likely to change. The next point that I'd like to talk about is actually something that many experienced drivers will do naturally and independently, but we'll put our hand to the gear lever before we go with our feet. And that helps the coordination. What I often find novice drivers or inexperienced drivers do, they grip the wheel really, really tight, and they'll only go for the hand to the gear lever after they've moved their feet. I can't do it at the moment with this one turning, but now. And that's what people tend to do. All right, I overemphasized the problems with the gear lever there, but put your hand to it, use your feet, hand, and then you're all nice and coordinated. The next thing I've already just touched on, and it's having a nice relaxed grip. You need to feel where these gears are. This gear change from second to third, doing 2 movements. Perfect. If you hold the gear lever too tight, you're not going to be able to feel where these gears are. You'll end up snatching for them. So a lovely relaxed grip with your left hand. The other important thing is to have a lovely relaxed grip with your right hand. If you hold the wheel too tight, naturally you're going to pull the car over towards one side or the other. So hardly hold the wheel, I actually say to my pupils sometimes. I know that seems a little bit strange, but you should always have your hands ready in case you need to steer, but hardly hold. Maybe the same sort of pressure as you would hold a knife or a fork, and it's got to be loose from your shoulders all the way through your arms, through your wrists, into your hands. So a nice relaxed grip is really important. The next one is a really common fault that I always see novice drivers actually do, especially when they've been with a different instructor than myself. And it's about how quickly you use your feet. Now I know when we get taught to drive that it's drummed into us to use the clutch slowly, but actually when you press it, watch now, it should be done quickly and straight away. It's only lifting it up where it often needs to be quite slow, and that's simply the slower the car, the slower you use it. Then you can lift, quick down, slowly lift up the rest of the way. So there's sort of like a little pause in the midst of the gear change when you're at the biting point, but pressing the clutch down, it needs to be done quickly. As you are pressing the clutch as well, the other important point is to come off the gas quite quickly. The gas should not be released before you go for the clutch. You work your feet at the same sort of time. But make certain, going back to the first point that I made, that your feet are in that pivotal position. You don't want to lift your whole leg off the actual gas pressure. You just want to relax your sort of ankle and come off it. So, covering the clutch, it's ready. Gear change is going to be quick. Hand to it first, quick, smooth gear change, and then smooth back up. So your feet work actually quickly on the first part and then smoothly on the lift part. So we're progressing through the gear changes now. We now understand how to do the prep. We understand the first part of the feet. The second part of the feet I've just mentioned that you use smoothly, which, yeah, obviously, but there's another little mistake that people often make when they're engaging the gear after they've changed with their hands and they just lift the clutch up. This doesn't work well. What you actually need to do is not just lift the clutch, but actually squeeze your gas a tiny little bit prior to lifting the clutch to the biting point. And what that does, it actually increases the engine speed so it's matched to the new gear that you actually use. So I'm going to try and show you a little touch further. I'm just going to drop us into second again, a little bit of gas first before I lift the clutch, and the engine speed then was raised so it matched that new gear. I think we've got a little bit of space a little touch further up on the new road, providing these lights stay on green. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, we do have a national speed limit road. I'm just going to back off and create a little bit of space so I can accelerate and show you. So what we've got, we're accelerating, going to go into third, clutch down off gas, and then a little bit of gas prior to lifting the clutch, and you'll find then that the next gear change is lovely and smooth. So always have, when you're changing up through the gears, a little bit of gas just to match the engine speed to the speed of the new gear. I hope that makes sense. What I'd like to have a quick word about now is actually what makes our car go faster. People often think that rushing the gear changes makes the car go faster, and it obviously doesn't. Driving on the roads, we're never in a scenario where we need to shave milliseconds off our journey by doing such a rapid gear change. So your gear changes should be nice and planned. Don't forget, if you want to go quicker, it's not the gear change that does it, it's the use of the gas in between. So rather than trying to rush your gear changes, have them planned. But then if you need to make some more progress, once you've done a smooth gear change, then squeeze your accelerator pedal more and more. I can't go too much with what we've got in front of us, but make certain you have that frame of mind. It's changing your feet in between the gear changes which is key to making progress, but that progress, don't forget, has always got to suit the risk around and risk in front of us. So I hope that little video has helped. Gear changing is something that I find people are always wrapped up with. They don't concentrate on using their brake or their eyes enough. People are insistent on changing gear, and it's not the gear changes that are going to slow you down. Remember, brakes are to slow, gears are to go. So do your planning and choose your gear change off what's happening up ahead. One little piece of advice, and this is for looking into the future as well. One piece of advice is going to speed your gear changes up, is to buy an automatic. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Hope to speak to you soon.